Thank you for joining this Wednesday webinar with the ANZ Adobe Education Team. In the spirit of reconciliation, Adobe acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Indigenous Australians. Now it's over to the Adobe Education Team.
But let's talk about presentations. Now, I know that most of you on the call today are educators, and I don't really need to sort of school you on why we use presentations. So for me, you know, I really love this idea of that digital storytelling piece, you know, like I know our presentations are that really powerful tool for learning, for communication, and also for assessment. And I know as educators, you're using them to explain those complex concepts in a really visually engaging way. And you're encouraging that student engagement and participation through your presentations. I love the fact that it also supports that multi-modal learning. So often in our presentations, we can have video, we can have images, we can have you know, a lot of sorts of different modes of media in there. And of course, you know, we get our students as well to create those presentations so we can assess their understanding, but at the same time, we can help them build those digital literacy skills. So the power of digital storytelling, it's something that's, you know, really important, but I know is really sort of popular in when we talk about sort of our teaching and learning programs, because they're not just slides, right? They're telling a story. It's this digital storytelling piece. So it is making learning really more engaging and memorable, and it helps students to organise and present their ideas really clearly. So we're encouraging through that, like that creativity, the critical thinking, the communication, all those really critical skills that they need to foster throughout their journeys as learners. And of course, building that confidence in that public speaking or visual literacy space. I've pointed to it just before, but the skills are what's really important when we're modelling those skills by using presentations ourselves as educators, but also that our students, when they're creating, that we're honing in on those digital literacy skills. They're having to navigate those design tools, they're like understanding the media and how it's sort of how we can tell these stories. Communication skills is a really big one, where they're articulating ideas like really clearly and persuasively. And of course, that creativity and design thinking. So using visuals to enhance storytelling. We've got collaboration in there as well. So they're working on shared projects and giving peer feedback. And that critical thinking piece as well, which I think goes unnoticed, I think, a lot of the time when we're just, you know, doing something as simple as building a presentation. So how are we structuring this information effectively? What sorts of choices are we making, our students making, in terms of those visuals and that video representation when they're putting their information across? And of course, the technical skills, so how to use those digital tools effectively. Design elements have to play a really big part. And I don't know if Al's joined the call yet. He hasn't yet, but I'm going to throw him under the bus a few times today because he has a background.
I'm here.
Oh, yay, Al, I can't see you. Yay, Al, welcome. Hi, Al. I am going to be throwing him under the bus today because he has a background in graphic design. So he'll know all about these design elements. And, you know, sometimes I certainly, when I began as a teacher, I didn't have that background. And I made my presentations and I didn't really consider these design elements. I've learnt them along the way. But the visual hierarchy and the layout, right? So we're really keeping it clean and simple. We're trying to avoid all these really cluttered, busy slides. And we know that's really important, particularly for students, because sometimes like a ton of images and a ton of text on a page is just so overwhelming. Using contrast as well. So we're doing, you know, making our key points stand out with bold fonts and colours. It's really drawing the attention and the eye to those key bits of information on the page. Stick to one idea per slide. I think you already know that, right? So in terms of our typography and our readability, we're thinking about making choices around the, you know, font, and it does matter that font size and what font that we really choose to use. Is it readable? Is it accessible? The high contrast as well for for readability. Choose a consistent colour palette, and I hope I've sort of done that a little bit today, and avoid those really excessive bright neon colours, right? They can be sort of a bit distracting. As much as we love, well, a girl from the 80s loves some fluoro, maybe tone it down just a little bit there. Those high quality visuals as well, when we think about imagery and multimedia, and we go back to sort of what I was talking about with the multi-modal presentation. So being able to, you know, have your videos in there as well, maybe GIFs if that's your jam, you know, that really grabbing the attention and it aids understanding for a lot of our students. Using those consistent icons as well, like we want to kind of keep on brand. And I used to think that was really icky kind of word to use in an education space, but it's true, like being able to have that sort of consistency throughout, particularly one presentation, but I know I started to really do that. So my French, I was a French and English teacher, so my French, you know, presentations and that sort of branding, I was always using the blue, white and red to try and sort of keep with that theme as well. So try and keep that consistent. And I know that accessibility, inclusivity is just paramount for us as educators, and we really need to ensure, like I said, that readability, you know, the colourblind students as well. So in fact, we've got a great add-on in Express where we can check for that for colourblind. You know, using alt text for images too. So I know on our web pages we can do that, and avoiding those really excessive animations. It can be really sort of distracting for our neurodivergent students. So that's just some key bits of information there. I think it sort of sets a nice foundation to sort of the why we're doing this and what we need to be considerate of when we are doing this. Now, I can see that Natalie and Tim Cosgrove have their hands up, and I wasn't sure if that was just a high five to say, yep, we can hear you, or if they had a question. So if you have a question, you can
I think that was from the thumbs up systems check earlier.
Cool.
That if we wanted to just also just try out putting our hands down if they're around and their teams is cooperating, unless they wanted to open their mics to ask a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to delete my hand. I couldn't delete it.
Okay.
Yes. Okay,
just if it won't
you.
let you hit the raise hand button again with the purple underline under it to like put it down.
Yeah, I was just trying to delete it, so maybe I can do it now.
No worries.
Got it.
Yep, there we go.
Cool. Okay, we are going to get creating in Adobe Express, and let's hope this isn't another federated link that I'm going to pop in the chat today. So try this one here. Actually, that one could be too. Oh dear. I think that's the one. That's actually the problem child. I'll get Al to pop it in there for you for those that have come in a little bit later. Okay, so let's create in Adobe Express. Now, you might notice that when I come to my homepage here, my dashboard of my Adobe Express, it might look a little bit different to you if you're in the K-12 space. Rest assured that every sort of tool and feature that I'm going to show you today is exactly the same. It's just the layout's really different, okay? Because we have our students in K-12 using it and we're a little bit more sort of friendly, not so corporate. Okay. Presentations. Now, there's many a way to get to presentations. I'm going to do some key call outs for you. Right. So if I think about I'm a teacher, I want to start creating, I'd often go up to this plus button up here, and I actually might just even bring in an existing PowerPoint, and I can upload that PowerPoint straight into Express, and it comes over really nicely, and it gives us the ability to be able to edit sort of everything in there. Just note your transitions won't transition over. So there are things that we'll just have to kind of tweak a little bit in the background. You can see as well, even in Get Started, I can scroll down here and there's even presentation. I can just click on that too. You'll see here, even if I want to browse from templates, I can click there. There's so many ways to do it. I wanted to call out this one. We're not going to go into here today, but for those of you that love AI, you can even go in now and generate a template. So you can click on that and you can tell it the color scheme, the theme, the branding, and it'll create some pages there for you. So that's also a really fun way to do it. But we are going to start from scratch today, which I don't normally do. So I'm going to click on presentations. I normally come in here and go, oh, what's my theme? And you might even be doing, I don't know. Oh, here we go. Water cycle presentation, life cycle of water. And you can click in there and you can see that it can get you started and off you go, right? But today we are going to start from scratch because I'd love to show you all of the elements in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with text. So I'm going to click on my text and I'm going to add my text. And I, being that English teacher, always love me a bit of Shakespeare and of course Romeo and Juliet. Right, now once I've got that, I can Control A, which is on a Windows device, Mac. It's your other button, you'll know what it is, and you can select all of that. Now I can go through all the different fonts that I've got here and I can check a really cool font. I've got some really pretty ones there, or I can even come up and have a look at those that are recommended. So it might kind of pick up a little bit on what it is. I know that this one was quite cute actually, and it sort of fits into a bit of that theming, if you like, around Romeo and Juliet. Now, in fact, reading that, I actually don't think that that's very accessible. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to choose the recommended up there. So I've got Romeo and Juliet. Now, again, Control A to just select the text. My 3 buttons up the top will give me some things that I can do with it, and I'm constantly duplicating. Now I don't want it to say that, but I know it's going to keep my font and my size, so I can just duplicate that and I will go in, and of course we've got to call out Shakespeare, SPEA. Sorry. This is really funny. I used to be able to talk and type. As I've gotten older, I can't do that anymore. So sorry. I want to make that a little bit smaller. Remember we thought about that hierarchy. So my main focus is obviously my Romeo and Juliet, but I've got my Shakespeare needing to be sort of called out, and I can just select both of them. Now I can drag my mouse over and select the both of them. Or I can also sort of go up to my layering and it can show me and be able to select the certain ones that I want it to sort of select on too. So that's a nice way of doing it. My new favorite is selecting something and being able to hit shift at the same time and be able to select the both too. Now I have just noticed that I'm running a little bit slow because of my bandwidth. So we'll just have to take everything a bit slower today. I might actually go off camera, sorry, just to help. Okay, so I've done my fonts. I'm happy with my text there. I'm going to move it just a little bit up here. Oh, it's really clicky today. All right, I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this left-hand menu that scrolls down, and I'm going to hit on the text icon, which is the T that we've got there. Oh, no, sorry, we've done that. We're going to hit on the media icon because now I want some images in there. So I can upload from my device. So I know as a teacher, I always had like a bank of images that I use, but in Adobe Express, and particularly sort of for any of our customers, you have access, well, everyone has access in Adobe Express to Adobe Stock images, which is fantastic. Now, please be mindful that if you're using images from here, that I know with TAFE, for example, they have to really follow the referencing sort of guidelines. So just check in with your institution what that looks like. I love this little book that we've got here. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, gosh, she hasn't even done a background yet, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. I sort of start to build first. And we're going to come back to this image because, again, my bandwidth isn't great. I'm going to remove the background, but let me just let it load. While I'm doing that, I'm going to now go into generate an image using AI. And I'm just going to click on the little square button there. And I'm going to put here in my description, Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. Now, for those of you playing at home, our Firefly, which is our generative AI tool, is trained on Adobe Stock. So it's really safe and ethical to use. And we don't just sort of go and grab from open source, just anybody's work. We know that we can use the images that we train it on because we own them. And we, credit our authors or our creators in doing that. So I've got that one there. I can switch through sort of art, photo, graphic. Art's pretty good. I sort of like that one there, but I might generate a couple more. Got a really good one in the last one. And let's just click back to this image and just see, oh, my remove background hasn't popped up just yet. Now, oh, there it is. No, just on this one. Now, this is where I'm going to take out, I love this, one of the colors here to do my background. So if I go up to the top menu bar up there, so background color, which is just the icon that's the fourth in, I'm going to get my little dropper and I'm going to pull out a really nice sort of color that we've got coming on here. So there's some nice reds and I don't want it too intense, but I'm going to pull out that color. Oh, that's a bit much. So I can also tone that down too. Come back here. Oh, still not remove background. Being Romeo and Juliet and a story about love, I could remove the background if I want just the people in there, but I'm going to switch down here to the crop icon and I'm going to have a look here because I know there's a little love heart crop that we've got in there. So just to be a bit corny, I'm going to use that and I'm going to make it a little love heart crop. And again, I want to line it up with the text that I've got there. Is this playing nicely? Yes, great. I like that book, but I don't like the background because it just looks a bit messy. So I'm going to click on remove background up there. And this is our clever AI doing the hard work for me. Okay, so while that sort of loads and you can then see I can make that bigger and I can of course move that around, but I think that's looking sort of quite good. Now, I'll come back to my text. It wasn't playing nicely before, but I want to start moving things a little bit more up here, I think. And that's it looks quite cute, but I'm missing some of those like design elements on it, right? So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here down again on that left-hand menu bar. So we've got the elements. It has a little icon with the triangle and the circle, and I'm going to click on that. I can start adding some of those design assets in there. As you can see, you can scroll through from design assets and backgrounds, shapes and icons. So we give you a lot of different ideas. And I might sort of click on my design assets there and you can see I've got brushes, which are often really nice to kind of put behind images, for example. I might sort of put a couple over in here. Now, once I've got that, it's selected. If I either right click or use the three dots, I can send it sort of to the back. We can kind of see that it's just added a little bit more of that layering effect to it, right? And you can see again, if we go to our layers, we can kind of see what those elements are on the page. That's looking quite cute. I might sort of have a look at a little bit more of those brushes and see if we sort of need anything else that might work for us. Maybe a little bit of gold. Maybe as well, I might go back to the design assets here, and I might have a look as well over my overlays too. So overlays is a nice one as well that sort of gives us some more of like our little specks and things like that that we could often use, or splashes and things like that that might come. Oh, that's a nice orangey sort of thing. Might be able to pop it up there in the corner, make it a little bit bigger. I kind of like to offset it too. Now, if you like, you can see here that I can tone the opacity down a little bit. So that's sort of a nice way just to not make it so intense. And of course, if I wanted to, going back to my text, I could then sort of pick out again, a different color if I wanted to change my text, for example, and I might grab one of these greens out of the picture here. That's not probably dark enough. So again, I'll just go to the color swatch and I would make it a little bit darker. I hope you guys are also creating in the background and following along, but please pop anything in the chat. We've got Al and, like I said, Erin as well on the call today. That looks quite cute. Like I said, I'm not going to say that I'm a graphic designer, but you can kind of see how you can add these other elements to make it really visually appealing. I might sort of come back on camera too so you can see my expression. Now, I like this. This is a good sort of starting point, but you know what? I don't have time. I've got my lesson that's happening in a couple of periods time, and I need to get my colleague Al Briggs to come and help me with a couple of my pages as well. So I'm going to come up to the little invite button up here, and I'm going to click on the invite button. And I'm also, I'm getting an error. I could send him a link if I wanted to, or I could pop in his name. Oh, look, it looks like you might be off the hook today, Al. Just on my internet. Oh, look, copy to clipboard. I'm going to be really cheeky and pop it in my Teams. Oh, I will. That's exactly where I'm going to pop it. So there we go. Anyone, why don't you all just go nuts? You can all jump in. No, actually, please don't. That's just for Al. So there you go, Al, in the chat. Now I'm going to get Al to make some other pages for me. So what I'm going to do here is in my page actions, I'm going to start building out my presentation. Okay, now what I might want to do here is I might want to duplicate the page because I want to keep maybe some of these elements on it. So I can keep that element on it. I might just keep this as my little sort of guiding icon, but I don't need all these like other little design elements happening. So I can make that a little bit smaller and I can keep those elements there as well. Again, I like to keep the fonts that I'm using because we like to keep with that consistent font, and I might sort of start making some pages for my students to start filling out. So I can just go in, select that text. So I can either double click in it or I can control all and it will select that for me and I can change the text there. So with the background color as well, I can go to more other recommended colors that kind of stay in the same hue if I wanted to, but toning it down a little bit more. So I can click on that there, and it's a really nice suggestions that the Adobe Express sort of gives you. Now, what I'd love for you to do is go and sort of create a couple more pages. Maybe you can do a character page for me while I play in here.
Happy to. Can you just grant me access, please?
Oh, there we go. Nice. Here we go. Pop into my notifications and I'll just go in here and I will grant you access. There you go. This has been a really fun one today. A couple of hurdles. And that might just sort of reload. So look, while that's loading, so Joe's asked, can multiple people collaboratively work in the same presentation synchronously? Tongue twister for a Wednesday afternoon. Yes, absolutely. You can have multiple people and they can be working on the presentation or any asset in Adobe Express at the same time. So that's how it really does fit into that collaborative sort of space. Now, I'm not sure if that's working for you yet, Al, so we'll just give it a couple more seconds. And that's a really sort of great point to make, Joe, because our students, we often want to be allowing for these collaborative activities. And so you can, I'll just go, yep, tick. There you go, and Al can edit. So you can see there, that's a bit of a long way going through it. I should have just been able to put the details there of Al into, there you go, it's popped up. So I can put a Briggs, for example, at adobe.com, and that's going to send him a notification. And that's where you can select either edit or comment. So your students will invite you to your presentation as well, just perhaps for you to comment. And so you can do that assessment piece. Of course, when you're getting them to collaborate together in group work, then you make sure that everyone has editing rights too. And you can write a little message in there, what you want them to do. And there's Al. I can see him wheeling around. Nice work, Al. So I'm going to sort of click here on my sort of setting. And I'm just going to go through a couple more of the elements with you, and Al can be busy as well building a character page, and let's sort of see what he's taken and the elements that he's taken from what I've already created. So the things that I'd like to sort of point out to you, in the media, we went through before, like the media that we can grab out of Adobe Stock can be photos, for example, and images, but they can also be videos as well. So I think what's really great, and I know that for that K-12 Adobe Express, that you can, a lot of the videos, obviously, and images is totally safe to use in a classroom, and they are geared a bit more towards the education space. So by all means, if you don't be afraid to even just do it on the fly in your classroom, the content is completely safe there. So I can go in here, and again, I might do my good old Romeo and Juliet search, and I'll click on my video as well. You're probably having a lot better luck than me. So the Teams and my bandwidth at home doesn't love it. I'm going to go through and just search and see if what comes up in terms of videos already on Romeo and Juliet. Now, of course, I'm going to turn my camera off. Of course, I could go to, I could have a video that I've already got as well, and I can just upload that from my device. I can put a link in, from a YouTube clip as well. So that's all sort of fine. There's different ways to be able to add that video content in there. Now, this is quite funny. I haven't looked here, but it looks like we might be in Fair Verona. I might just be right that we've got a video in here. And sort of while that loads as well, it can show us that we can have, different positions. We can adjust that. We can adjust the volume on it as well, or the speed that it plays too. And we can sort of be removing backgrounds if you have something quite sort of easy in there. So this is sort of maybe a flyover. Looks like, is that the Colosseum? It looks like the Colosseum. We could use that as a bit of a setting, a bit of a prompt for our students to then go a bit deeper and have a look at that for sure. So there's video content that we can also get in there, and you can actually click on fill video too, and it will expand that video. So it's quite clever, the AI that we've got sort of sitting in there. But if you wanted to, I know as well that if we're putting in some different sort of text boxes in here, so what do they call it? Fair Verona. We've got where our star-crossed lovers meet. We can have different settings, and then we've got again, if I might just duplicate that, and I can say we've got the Capulet house, household, and again, I just like to not have to do everything again, so I just, and we've of course got, right, well, what is it, Capulet and oh my God, I've just had the biggest blank.
Montagues.
Thank you. That's why I need you, Al. You think that it's been a while since I've been in the classroom. Great, and the Montague household, for example. Now, what we can do as well with our text is that we can be able to come in here and do some different effects on that, right? So why aren't you coming up for me? Our transitions, we can obviously come and have it flickering in. We can have it sort of coming in, and that's a really nice way to be able to use those to change, to have certain key information pop up at certain times. So we don't always have to have all the information on there at once. I might just go back to this one here because I know it was coming up before. I wonder why that's not happening for me. Maybe let's see if Al's having a little bit more luck than me. Oh, look at that. Characters, lovely. Al, could you show us there in terms of your text and being able to transition your text at all? Are you having a little bit more?
I can do that for sure.
That's great. That's good. And then we can see the different sort of effects that you've got coming through here, but it should sort of come up on different effects that you've got. I might try the images here. That might give me a bit more of, no, it's not liking this today. We've got the position, we've got the opacity that we can play with as well. But what I really want is my animations.
Mol, do you want to make me a presenter and then I can share my screen?
Yeah, let's do that for sure, Al. Thank you. That's good thinking on your feet. I don't think, because Tim set this meeting up, I have the ability to do that. Let's see people I've got in here. And Al, let's see if I can make you, oh, yep, make a presenter. Awesome.
Beautiful.
Change that. Cool. All right, Al, take it away.
All right. Give me 1 second and I will share my screen.
Legend. Thank you. That's why you always need two on the call.
All right. We all here? You can see character page. Yep. So with the character selected up the top there, I've got my animation option. And so if I select the text element or whatever element it is that I want to go in and actually use and I want to animate, I can just select it and then I can actually just, excuse me, move over each of these elements. So you can see with the fade, for example, it goes in and gives it that sort of typewriter effect. Quicker, it's a little bit distracting. Typewriter will actually go in and pluck it out. But I can have it bounce in, or I can have it drift across, or I can have it drop down. I can have it rise up from the bottom. So when you're looking at using some of these features, think about where it is on the page. So if I was going to go in and have it rise, I probably wouldn't have it rise from the middle there. Maybe that's coming out of a photo frame, or it's coming in from the side of the image or something like that. For any of these tools, you've also got these little slider access elements where I can go in and adjust. So I can change the direction. So it can descend rather than rise. So it can come from the top of the page down, and I can go in and change the duration. I can go in and change the personality of it. So I can make it energetic, which is not that much different to soft or smooth or strong, but you can go in and play around with these a little bit. And you can then, of course, do that to any of the elements. So if I wanted to do the same thing for my little quote here, I might go in and have that sort of fade in. But if I go a little bit faster, and you can see there I could choose it either by the whole thing, by a single character, by a word, or by a line. So if I want the whole thing to just come in a single element. Yep. And then when we click on the little play button, we've got the animation. You can sort of see. So you can sort of see how you've got those abilities to go in and animate any of those elements, and to remove it if you decide that you don't like it, you can just click on removal and get rid of it.
Nice one. Thank you for that. And I've just figured out why I was completely stumped. They've moved it for me. Okay. So look, we've just got about another 5 minutes to go. I'm going to take back sharing my screen now. And I want to just quickly show you how we would then sort of share this out as a key resource, or even a template for our students to use. So, and this is Joe has sort of pointed to that. So there's a couple of ways that we can sort of publish it for students, like to provide, that link to them, and they can access it asynchronously. So you saw before how I would add a collaborator. Yep, so the little person icon with the plus. But this is where I want to share my presentation out. Now there's a couple of ways that I would do this, and depends on the purpose that you've got for your students. So if you just want them to have it like a resource that they can come back to and gain the information, then I would just click on view only link. Okay, and then that view only link, I get that link, I put it in the LMS. So I put it in my Google classroom. I put it in, you know, Canvas, sorry, don't put it in Canva, put it in Canvas, whatever LMS that you're using. And I can copy that link, and then it opens up and they can just view it, they can't edit it. But what I often do is, particularly for those students that need that little bit more support and scaffolding, I would make a template. Now what happens is when I make a template, I can come in here and I can put in my title, and I can save it to anywhere sort of in my folders sitting in Express. It doesn't matter about that. And I can click on Save a Template. Now it's really nice if I put it, if you're working with colleagues, that's a nice way. If you've got a folder that you've set up in Express that you share resources, that's nice to put it in that folder so they know that they can use that template. But for my students, now that I've got that there and I've clicked on make a template, you can see it's generating a link. So what happens is then that link I put in my LMS and I communicate that to my students, and then they can click on the remix button and that's theirs. So they don't need to sort of download it and save a copy. It just automatically goes, oh, remix, and they click on that and then they can use the template. So for example, I've sort of ended and then that's the link that's just been generated. That's for that template. So what I might then get the students to do is I'll ask them to complete the presentation, adding a page for key quotes, and we'll keep building that presentation together throughout the unit of work so we can all sort of come back as well. Well, they'll do their own and I'll keep building too, and we can sort of share that resource at any time with our students. So that's a really nice way to do that. I'm just trying to think, yeah, so as well for educators, I think it's really important that I call out the comment button. So if we've got our students to then make a presentation and that they've gone in, they've, put videos in there, again, they can record themselves. We might ask them to record, them with another student doing one of the key scenes from Romeo and Juliet. They can upload that video into this presentation. So I can then come in, I can watch it, and I can comment on that as well. So that's, for me, I thought that was a really good tool because often, we have students that are like arrested by public speaking and they don't want to sort of get up and do it, but they'd be happy to make a YouTube clip on Romeo and Juliet and do it in your own flavour. So do a modern version of it or do a traditional version and things like that. So it's really nice to see that. And we can come in and we can add our comments to certain elements on the page, just like we can. Great design. And I can submit that, and I can also pin it. So I pin it there and I submit it. So I can directly go into a student's, when they've shared it with you, I can go in and I can comment on their work and I can use that as an assessment. So look, I think that's a really good starting point for everybody. And I think that if you have learnt anything today, it's click on things, have a look, because every time we do click on any of these sort of key features and tools in Adobe Express, it just opens up these possibilities of what we can do. Yeah, that's right. That's a good call out, Tim. If you do make changes after it's published, then you need to update the publishing of the link. So again, if I go to that share, you'll notice now as well that it'll ask me to republish too. And that's for certain ones there. The other one, so we've got Joe asking, does Adobe Presentation support closed captions with videos? It does. That's a really awesome call out too. So what I'll sort of show you here is what we would do to do that, Joe, and I know we've got just a couple of minutes, but I think that's a really good call out. If I'm back on my home page, there's a video section. Now what I would want to do is I'd want to just upload that video and there's just in our quick edits, here we go, load for me. There's a space in there that says captions. So we can go in and we can get that caption. Now it'll just run AI over that and it'll do the captioning for you, and it's editable as well. So then once I've done a video, so I think I might be able to, like I might do an instructional video. I know that that's used a lot in sort of TAFE, where the teacher might do like an instructional video first of all, and they pop it in the presentation. That video, when they've done it, you can then go and do your, see my quick actions, and you can see in my videos there's a caption video. So I'd want to pull the video first into Express, get it captioned, and then edit the captions, because sometimes like it doesn't pick up on all, like if we do an acknowledgement for country, for example, it won't pick up on like camel lands. It often says camel, which is inappropriate. So I need to make those changes. If it is your first time in Adobe Express today, please check out Quick Actions, because it really shows you the power of this tool and the breadth of what we can do. Now, Al, I had great trouble before as well, because it's been one of those days with my audio. If I quickly just share the end of the presentation with you, I might get you to pop in and just do the last video for us. So I'll just do a couple of key call outs, so they're right on time. Look, next Wednesday webinar, it's not next Wednesday, just a key bit. We have a really exciting executive roundtable happening next week. So the next Wednesday webinar isn't until February 26th, but Dr. Tim Kitchen will be presenting on Adobe Express short animated videos for any curriculum. The stuff that he does around videos is really awesome. So definitely pop into that one. And if you want to as well, you can find, I'll pop it in the chat there. That's to register for the upcoming webinar. And then also the key call out to would be, and I'm going to try and do two things at once, would be to go to our new Adobe ANZ Briggs. Like I said, I can't type and talk as well. There you are, Al. So come in here to invite to edit. I'm going to get you to share the screen in a second, but we are so proud of this. We've just created a new website for our ANZ people. Okay, so it's all content, all the events that are upcoming. We've got some great resources on there, both for higher ed and K-12. So please pop in and have a look at our new site for you guys. All right, Al, that takes us just to the last video. Please stick around, because there's a QR code for your feedback. It is a gift, and I really appreciate your patience today as I navigated bandwidth with kids home.
Thank you for being part of this Wednesday webinar from the ANZ Adobe Education Team. We hope you found it helpful. While you complete the feedback form via this QR code or link, note that Wednesday webinars are one of a number of free events and resources that we have for teachers as well as for students. More information is available on the ANZ Adobe for Education site, available via adobeanzedu.com. If you haven't yet joined the Adobe Creative Educator ACE community, by completing ACE Level 1 or 2, you can find out more via adobe.ly/ACE-APAC. Also, keep up to date with our monthly newsletter via adobeapacedu.com. Thanks again for being involved in this webinar. We look forward to seeing you at the next event. Keep being creative.